And Pat Leonard of the Daily News has been entrenched out in the Meadowlands, fresh off another day of camp, covering the Giants beat and the NFL, of course. And let's start with Saquon Barkley. I think it surprised everybody that Saquon got this deal done and got into camp. How much did it surprise you?
Yeah, it was extremely surprising. I doubted that Saquon was actually going to go through the holdout. But once that long-term deal didn't get done, it made sense for him, because he wasn't going to get fined for missing training camp, to sit out all the way towards the regular season. I think by showing up and being with his team, he maybe didn't help himself business-wise, but for the Giants' 2023 season, it really helps you not have that distraction, helps everybody focus on what they need to, which is becoming a better football team.
And I think, as we talked about it with Saquon, I mean, the emphasis with this offense on him, certainly last year he was a huge part of it. You know what he means to this offense, but yeah, business-wise, I don't know that he necessarily helped himself. And we heard Le'Veon Bell talking about how is Daniel Jones getting all this money, and he's a bottom-tier quarterback, and Saquon means more to this offense. Where does this relationship stand going forward now?
I think it's fair to question whether they're long-term for each other, right? He has said he wants to be a Giant for life. Of course, they could franchise tag him after this season if they want to.
And he's not going to like that.
No, he would not like that at all. I envision this not being something that continues much longer past this year. What I'm most interested in the short term is whether they throw him the ball more, because, of course, he feels like he's worth more, and being a receiver in the passing game would help him increase his value for the long
well,
term.
and it helps Daniel Jones, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he has to have Saquon there as an outlet. Although Daniel's got so much to work with now, he's got to love looking out there and seeing Darren Waller, who has looked, what is the word, unguardable so far in camp?
He's a monster. He looks like an NBA player on a football field. He's going up and getting passes. You just aren't seeing these types of plays in recent years from the Giants, really since Odell Beckham Jr. was traded to Cleveland. He just looks different. I think if I were Daniel Jones, I would probably throw a couple of interceptions because I was forcing it to Darren Waller. Right. He's open not only often, but quickly off the line of scrimmage. Nobody in the Giants camp has been able to guard him so far. You hope, cross your fingers, he stays healthy, because if he does, he's going to have a monster year. And that, like you said, is how Daniel Jones can help validate the contract he just got in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to gauge in training camp because you're not going full speed in a lot of cases. You know, a player like Waller is going to stand out against the defense, I think, more often than not.
No doubt.
So how fair of a read is it to get on Waller and just how good he looks? Because everybody looks good in camp.
I think the fairest thing with Waller is, even though you're right, the pads aren't on yet, no one's hitting, so the defense is at a disadvantage already. But it's actually not news that he's a monster and that he's a freak. The question with him is always, can he stay on the field?
Big time.
And so I think what you can expect as a Giants fan actually is throughout August, and Brian Daboll said this openly, they will dial him back and protect him, protect his body, protect him from himself, keep those reps off of him, because all that matters is that Sunday night, Week 1, Dallas Cowboys-Giants, he's on the field.
Well, that's why it's important to see a kid like Jalen Hyatt look the way he has looked this weekend especially. I mean, Friday was a huge day for him. What's his progress been like?
Wow, I mean, this is the joker in the deck of the Giants roster right now. You have Jalen Hyatt, who in the spring is buried on the depth chart. And you're wondering, has he picked up the offense well? Where is this going to go? What can I expect come training camp? And then, as we sit here today, Tyrod Taylor throwing an absolute bomb that I think is still in the air, that Jalen Hyatt caught behind the defense. He's got that 4.3 speed, and you're starting to see it. It's exciting. Now, Brian Daboll basically said as much. We're putting on his plate what he can handle. So clearly he's picking things up. They're adding some more things to his plate incrementally. So he's worked with Daniel Jones in the first-team offense. He's worked with Tyrod Taylor in the second team. He's working with the third-stringers. All this is to say, if you can unlock this deep threat in this offense,
there's something there.
Everything changes.
Wow.
Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, what they can do, where Daniel Jones can move with his eyes. Of course, you need to protect him to make those throws.
All right, let's talk about Daboll, because, you know, the Super Bowl is getting thrown around. I heard Sterling Shepard mention that this year. You know, that doesn't seem like something Daboll would necessarily put out there, but he's clearly talking about it with his players. There's clearly an expectation for this team to move it forward.
Yeah, no, it's dangerous for Daboll to say that publicly because it puts more pressure on himself than anybody. But I think it's super interesting, like you said, that Sterling Shepard said behind the scenes, Daboll saying, no, this isn't about playoffs. This is about hanging another banner in this building. And, it's a good thing that you're talking about it because that's the first step to doing it. I think Dable and Joe Shane know they overachieved last season, and this is still a work in progress. But like Dexter Lawrence said it himself, he goes, I'm done talking about building. You guys want to talk building? That's fine. We're talking about winning here. So that's kind of the tone that Dable set behind the scenes.
Maybe Dex couldn't have a conversation with Billy Epler of the Mets about, but that's another conversation for another day. All right, let's talk about Kayvon Thibodeau and this defense before we get out of here, because there's big expectations in year 2 on the 2022 sixth pick in the draft. And he had a good rookie season.
I think when people ask me how this team will do, one of the players I point out is if Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, both of those guys, those top 2 picks in Joe Shane's first draft, if they take the leaps it looks like they are poised to take, the team will go with them. And Evan Neal comes into camp, loses 10 to 15 pounds. On defense, Kayvon Thibodeau, he's running sprints in between reps when he's not playing because he said, I'm in the fourth quarter of games late last season, and I realize my conditioning needs to be up to make these plays in these key moments. I guess this is a way of me saying it looks like they know they need to improve and become leaders on this team even though they're so young, and that only can spell success if they're on the field and they're taking that responsibility on their shoulders.
But lots to like out of training camp.
Yeah.
Great time of year.
For sure.
Coming by Pat Leonard
Hope
from
Springs.
the Daily News. And, of course, the Talking Ball podcast. You can find it wherever you find your podcast. Pat Leonard, good stuff on the Giants. Hey, don't forget, NBC4 is your home for Giants preseason football. It all starts on Friday, August 11th in Detroit against the Lions. And then it's Bryce Young and the Panthers at MetLife on Friday the 18th. And we wrap things up with the Jets. Nothing really going on with them this year, huh? Aaron Rodgers and company taking on the Giants Saturday, August 26th. You can watch it all here on your home for Giants preseason football for New York.